Hi guys, welcome to Northern Explorer. I'm Drew. So before we go away camping tomorrow, I've just got to hook up a quick 12-volt system. We don't have the drawers currently installed in the back of our Hilux, which is where we plan to mount our battery and our 12-volt system and all the accessories and other bits and pieces. So we can't go away without power this weekend. So I'm just going to put together a couple of attachments really quickly so we can plug everything into the battery which we've got for the vehicle, the deep cycle battery, and that way we'll be in a position to be able to use power when we go out camping. To facilitate that, I have bought a couple of connectors. The reason I bought these connectors rather than making them myself was they were on sale and they're dirt cheap, and to be perfectly honest, you know, for an extra $2 or $3 I could just buy the connectors rather than stuffing around making them myself. Not that it's all that difficult. And these are clamped. I don't have a clamping tool. I'll have to get one before I put the 12-volt system in, but these are all pre-prepared. So basically what the intention is to connect up an Anderson plug to the battery. It's just a 12-volt AGM absorbent glass mat battery, 90 amp hours, which was actually on sale. So I got it for a good price. Connect the Anderson plug up to that, then have a split Anderson plug, and then from that split Anderson plug we can run the fridge and other accessories as well to charge phones and bits and pieces. And then I'm going to utilise some alligator clips attached to another Anderson plug so we can get power back into the battery through solar panels. So it's a pretty dirty, quick setup, but it's going to make do for the weekend. It means we're going to have power and it should work out all perfectly fine. Now, I didn't buy a battery box. Ideally in this sort of circumstance you probably would, and then you would mount this inside or have this inside the battery box with the Anderson plug. You can screw them into the battery box on the outside. I didn't want to spend the extra $50 for something that I was only going to use a couple of times, whereas these connectors I can sort of, you know, use them on an ongoing basis. So what I'll do is I'll run through real quickly how I'm going to connect the Anderson plugs to these accessories. I'm just going to strip these off, basically cut them in half, so then I'll have one half with an Anderson plug, and then I'll make two with the cigarette lighter, so that way I can plug in the other accessories that I need for the cigarette lighter, like the fridge I can plug in, and we'll make it nice, quick and simple. So we'll get cracking on that. So for those of you who don't know, Anderson plugs are basically, they look like this. They connect up, they're great for 12-volt systems, they make good connections, they've got different ratings. These are 50 amp hours, which is sort of the standard. You can connect them really easily. You can either crimp them on. They've got basically two connectors, which you can either crimp on to the wires, or what I'm going to do today is I'm going to solder them on. Crimping, you probably get a bit of a better, more secure connection. But I've soldered them in the past and I haven't ever had any issues, so they reckon that it's better to crimp, but I'm no expert, so I don't really know. Anyway, so this is one of the plugs that we're going to use, so I'll just snip that off to start with, and I'll just strip the wires back. These are 10 amp, which is more than sufficient for the purposes that I need. One of the things you've got to remember when you're doing this sort of work, you don't ever want to go above what the amperage of whatever you're using is, because then that's when you can have issues with your electrical system. So just always make sure that you're going to have plenty of amps spare, and it's always better to build in a bit of extra tolerance for what you think you might need to use, because the last thing you want is a car fire because you haven't done your maths and you've worked it all out incorrectly. So you can see I've just stripped those wires back. One of them's a bit uneven, so I might just tidy that up. So you can see I've stripped them back, and what we'll do is I'll fire up the blowtorch and hold them with a pair of pliers, because I've only got two hands rather than three. Hold them with a pair of pliers, hold it in there and just feed in the solder while I do it. So we'll do that now. Alright, so I've started up the gas torch. I'll just heat this up first. Shouldn't take too long to sort of get ready and up temperature. So that's sort of getting up there now. And then it's just a matter of putting the wire in there. And then a case of just repeating it with all of the other connections. So I'll do that now. Okay, so now that they have cooled off sufficiently, all you have to do, they just slide straight into the connector. They've got a little raised notch, so they've got a hook on one side. You know, that's the side that has to go down, and then the connector side is the sort of raised part that goes up. The only other thing you've got to make sure you remember to connect positive to positive and negative to negative. Otherwise, you might have some issues with sparks. So they just go in, and then you know they're in place because you will hear that sort of loud click. And then the negative to the negative terminal, and that's in place. So that's it basically there. And then when they connect up, I've just got my solar panel down here. All you do is you push the two together, and that forms a really solid connection, and it's very easy. I can then just connect that to the battery now, and then that'll start charging the battery through the solar panels. So it's a real easy way for you to connect line for your to connect wires for your 12-volt system. It's safe, it's easy to do yourself, and that's why everyone does it. It's just the easiest thing to do. So I'll finish up the rest of them, and then I'll give you an overview of what the system's going to look like. So as you can see, that's all done. It's a pretty straightforward, quick job. I did have a little bit of issue getting the connectors into the Anderson plugs. That's because I didn't realise, or these are two separate brands, different brands, and although they go together fine, they apparently have issues when you try and put the connector from one brand into the other one. But that's all right, it's all sorted. Luckily I didn't solder different ends onto each one. So now all that's left to do is to test it to make sure that it all works. So I've got the cigarette lighter plug here, accessory plug to go into it, USB, you can see that's lit up, and now it should charge the phone, and it does. So that's all pretty much set up and working. What my intention is, we can have a splitter put in here. So in one of these sockets I can run accessories. In the other socket I can run the fridge. It's just an angle fridge. So that'll be able to be run through both of them, and then I can feed power into the battery using the other connectors with the alligator clips from the solar panel. So basically having 3 lots of power coming and going in different ways, and that's more than enough for what we need for this camping trip. So that's pretty much it for this short video. I should put in the caveat that I'm by no means a 12-volt expert. This is just what I've sort of picked up from doing bits and pieces along the way. If you don't know what you're doing, seek advice and make sure that you don't ever put yourself at risk. I haven't put a fuse into this system. I know that I probably should, but it's going to be close to us, and I don't foresee too many issues with it, although you should always have fuses close to the battery to make sure in case anything goes wrong. So anyway, that's basically a quick overview. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe because it really helps the channel, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.